Okay, I believe we are recording. So, thank you and welcome to this. Hi, Linda. Welcome. So, hello to our audience. My name is Meg. I'm the Abortion Support Fund Director with Kentucky Health Justice Network. I'm excited to be joined here on this Giving Tuesday by one of our Support Fund case managers, Linda.
Hello, happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with me. So I'm really excited to chat with you today so that we can share a little with our viewers about the impact of our Abortion Support Fund program. So do you mind saying a few words about why you volunteer with Kentucky Health Justice Network?
Sure. I got involved basically because I know you. I used to be an escort at the clinic in Louisville, and then I moved away and sort of lost touch. And for a couple of years, wasn't really doing any kind of volunteering at all. And then I checked back recently and found an email where you had been sending updates, and I was like, you can probably remove me from this list. I don't live there anymore. And then you were like, okay, well, we do have some like remote people, and it was 2016, so December, and it was like still a couple of years, hadn't been doing anything, and I was like, maybe I should get involved in something again because I can call people from my house and do stuff. So yeah, I didn't have you remove me from the list. And y'all trained me remotely. And I've been doing it since then. Time flies. But it was important to me. This is like an easy way to get involved because I already knew some of the volunteers from escorting. I knew you. I didn't have to, I mean, it's kind of hard to like think about the past without the overlay of the pandemic, because I'm like, I didn't have to leave my house. I was leaving my house in 2016, 17. But yeah, it was an easy way to get involved in something that has been meaningful to me for some time. And yeah, I get to have a direct connection with folks who need support. And yeah, that was kind of rambly, but that's why.
I appreciate it. My favorite quote is, I got to have a direct connection with folks who need support. That
Yeah.
I think is so real and such a big component of our work that is not present in many models of reproductive health access work. So thank you. I remember that it is wild to think about like December 2016, right? Like we just had that other election and everybody was like having a moment. I remember I needed like several days to recover.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And to go back to the connection thing, I think I don't know, it kind of comes and goes, like how much our caseload is, but it's you're not making like long connections, so it is kind of like, I mean, sometimes it does take weeks, but you can talk to, if you're someone who enjoys working with people and like having a direct impact, it's that sometimes it's like you are helping people like from one day to another, and then you are all going on your like separate ways, and sometimes it's like several weeks, but you get to help a lot of people quickly. So just expanding on that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. Again, I remember you being like, oh yeah, I moved. You should take me off your email list. And I was like, oh no, you don't. We're keeping you. and you're I'm so appreciative of all of our very dedicated volunteers. We have an incredible team, so happy to have you on it. So speaking of the way that cases can sort of be complicated or even simple, can you say a little bit about, during this pandemic time, how the sort of everyday barriers that our callers have faced for years now have changed during COVID-19?
Sure. Well, I mean, one of the things is that I feel like more of the callers that I talk to are like just need a little help, or like they are telling me things like, we have like we were fine, everything was good, but like I'm at home with these kids, they keep coming home, they keep getting sent home, and so like I'm not working anymore, and like all of these bills are due, and it's just like one like all of these things that were chugging along, I guess, before the pandemic hit, like just this one extra thing is stressing people out,
Mhm.
because it's a big bill, which is always like, oh yes, an abortion in Kentucky costs $700. That's the baseline.
The very least, right?
That's like the minimum. Um, so I don't know. That's pocket change to some people, but like day to day, no. Like if I just had to like come up with $700 cash or like credit, like that's a especially now.
It's a
That's
huge chunk. It's
that's
a
a
lot of
huge one.
people's rent
Yes.
or a similar like giant bill.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, just something that used to be pretty simple like childcare is
Yeah.
is ex, you know a lot more difficult for people now, especially if they used to be able to send the kids to the neighbors
Mhm.
or some other sort of group setting. Risk factors are so different now.
Yeah. So I mean, it's people who are out of work. It's the child care thing, and then I mean, what I think just like the idea of like another reason that's taking you out of home or like forcing you to go somewhere where you might risk exposure is like that is stressful, like having to travel. It's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a lot, but I think the biggest thing is just like, I don't know, like personally, like day to day, I mean, maybe we're getting used to like pandemic life, but then like everything that's not just like normal right now, like, oh, now I have to go get an abortion, or like, now this person is sick. Like every little like normal life like challenge is just like, really, can we not do that
Right,
right
right.
now? So yeah, I when I talk to callers, sometimes it's just like, yeah, great, I get it. Like, and I
Yep,
tell them that, like, I'm sorry, like we're in a pandemic,
yep.
and now you have to go get an abortion in Kentucky. Great.
So just one more thing, right? Or not even in Kentucky. Maybe the laws in Kentucky restrict that person's access. And as we mentioned, during a pandemic, it's like, okay, well, now travel is that much more inconvenient
Hmm.
or out of reach. We've had callers who would have usually gotten a ride from one of our transportation volunteers, instead had to borrow a vehicle that was not as mechanically sound as would have been ideal. And so now they're going on a road trip for an expensive abortion during a pandemic and end up with car trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one that sticks in my mind. So speaking more specifically, can you talk a little bit about a case that was really memorable and made a big impact on you, where you supported someone who was facing really extreme barriers? What was that like?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, get, I personally have gotten kind of used to like these, I think of them as smaller amounts, like the ones that the 700, the 800, 900, even like what, 1350. I'm like, okay, we can get that. That's fine. But in one of my cases this year, the caller, the price was like $13,000, which we always make these things happen. So I was kind of like, okay, that's a lot, but we'll get it. And then I texted you, and you were like, I'm not sure where it's going to come from, but it's going to happen. Um, but then, like, actually, like, looking at the numbers and seeing what the caller could contribute themselves. They were not approved for NAF funding, which is like the organization that provides the most assistance. So, like, really, it was like, And like the amounts that were coming in were, it was just like, oh, this organization, bless them, is doing like $50. I'm like, okay, great. So now it's only 12,000 and 50. Oh my God, math. Wow. Anyway, yeah, so the math has not gotten better here. But so, so there was that price tag. And then this person was also like, you can't, however far along they were, did not like, was outside of what they could do in Kentucky. So they were going to have to travel from Kentucky to DC during a pandemic, find a place to stay during a pandemic in a city that they don't know. And then I remember texting with them and I'm like, is your transportation set for like in the city? And they're like, oh, we're not sure. I mean, I think we can take the metro. And I'm like, during a pandemic. So it was, I mean, that was a lot. Because it was just like, I mean, we were making it happen. I was trying to get in touch with them, but like they were also like really upset.
Understandably so.
Yeah, no joke. And then, I mean, like ultimately it came through, their insurance approved the procedure and they were able, like they didn't have to travel to DC. They were able to travel somewhere a little closer. And that was a huge
Still
relief.
outside of Kentucky, though.
Still outside of Kentucky, still during a pandemic. But it was more of a like they could drive. I actually don't even know what they were planning. Like I don't know if they were planning to drive to DC or like fly or what. But they ended up, it was taken care of. So like that relief, I mean, I was super relieved, and so I can imagine like how much better it felt for the caller. But like that's, I mean, $13,000.
It's so intense.
Like what?
Right. It is so intense. So for our viewers, just to explain how that went, sort of piece by piece quickly. So abortion funds often conduct what we call solidarity appeals. So in these kind of situations that Linda described, where no abortion fund can pay $13,000 or even half of that, really, from our perspective, when the price tag is that large, it would be helping one person instead of helping 20 or 100 people. And so we work together. We reach out to our national, regional, and other state-based partners and sibling organizations, and we say, hey, we have this Kentucky and they're facing these extreme barriers. Can anybody pitch in? And like you said, sometimes solidarity pledges are $50, sometimes they're $350. And so we were piecing that together. And then I remember that the caller received news that their insurance could cover. Oh, the clinic told us that they had canceled and we didn't know what happened. And
that exactly.
And we were like, oh, and it does happen where people will change their minds.
Yeah.
Or for whatever reason, they'll decide that they're not going to have that abortion. So that's what we assumed happened. But I remember saying, hey, Linda, why don't you check in with this person? And you reached back out to them and they said, my insurance is going to cover it. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
The relief.
Yeah.
And so I think they did drive, and I want to bet that we got them some gas money and probably worked with the Midwest Access Coalition for the hotel. So we worked in partnership because they did go to Illinois. So yeah, that was an intense time, and it takes all of us.
Yeah.
So speaking of it taking all of us, I'm actually gonna flash this little link. This is my super high-tech slide. Ready? Oh, is it backwards? Darn it.
No, it's perfect. Should I read it out for folks maybe are like watching this on a second screen? So it's bit.ly/KHJN2020, and it's bit.ly/KHJN2020.
That's right. Thank you. And just a note that this is case sensitive. So the bit.ly are lowercase and the KHJN are uppercase. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
So this is the short URL for people to donate because we are coming to you live here on Giving Tuesday, which is, as many of us know, an annual giving day. It's when many donors do some of their end of year giving. So on a day like today, when there are a lot of wonderful causes that are definitely in need of people's donations, what do you want to say, Linda, to donors about why it's important to support KHJN?
So many things. Let's start with we are doing a lot of work. There are a lot of people who need your support. So if reproductive health access is important to you, Planned Parenthood is great, but like they can only do so much. And we are at our support fund supports an independent clinic in Kentucky. And people are worried about, Roe getting overturned with all of these recent like Supreme Court appointments, but in reality, like access is already minimal. Like it may as well not exist in some states like Kentucky. Again, like minimum $700. You have to travel if you don't live in the city. People got to drive. It's hard.
It is hard. And you mentioned how hard we're working, and when you said that, it reminded me, and I just checked, and today, 2 calls ago, we received our 1,000th phone call on the hotline for the year of 2020. Yeah. So
how does that compare to where, I might be asking you like crunch numbers.
No, you're perfect. I love this stuff.
But like, how does that compare to where we were in November 2019?
So it is, so every year, so we launched our hotline in 2013. And of course, every year more people learn that we exist. And so we're accustomed to an incremental increase. And so last year in total for 2019, we got just under 1,000 calls total for the year. So this is on trend with our growth. And so it's not a surprise that we crossed 1,000 before December, but it's definitely a milestone. This is the first time in a year that we've hit 1,000. So it's kind of exciting. And definitely worth donating for.
Yes, absolutely.
So
yeah. We are all volunteers managing these hotlines and like working with folks across the state and like really the country, because we get calls from people in Tennessee and Ohio and West Virginia, and like just sometimes it makes more sense for them to make that extra several hour drive to Louisville versus like dealing with whatever laws exist in those surrounding states. I never thought I would like know like, oh, well, Ohio has a 48 hour, or I don't know.
Ohio's is 24, Tennessee's is 48, Missouri's is 72.
Yeah.
And all of those states touch Kentucky. And all of those states have gestational restrictions, which means that Kentucky being able to go as far as 20 weeks does attract a lot of folks from those.
Got it. That, and I think the other thing that people don't realize is that like some of these states make you go in person more than once. And the good thing about the Louisville clinic is that they will like do your required video consultation or whatever by video. That was redundant, whatever.
No, you're right. The mandate is that it be face-to-face, and so they use video.
Okay, right. And again, like the states around us, like again, during a pandemic, normal times, like having to take off work and go multiple times to an appointment, and then another, like a third time or whatever for the actual appointment. Like that's a lot. And then like during a pandemic with all that,
it's too much.
No.
Right. It's too much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Linda, for joining me to share these tales with our viewers. And again, I'm going to flash our little donation link. So today is Giving Tuesday, and we are hoping that you will support us by donating on our donation site so that folks like Linda and and the rest of our volunteer case managers can continue to support our callers. We anticipate our annual increase in calls following this holiday season and winter weather. So every little bit helps, and we appreciate your donations.
Yeah.